first question that I'd like to ask you is, can you tell us a little bit about your journey into education and what led you to become a principal?
Okay, so I'm actually a first generation immigrant. I came here when I was 12 years old from the Philippines. I was very timid and very shy, like because I'm coming from a different country, and then everybody else, like it was grade 8, and everybody else has found their friends, right? So, like what I said, I was very timid and shy, and one of the first things that really struck me was how welcoming the principal was. It was a Catholic school, and I remember registering with my mom and then my two little brothers at that time, and he was just so welcoming. And on the first day of school, he made everyone, like he just said, okay, everyone who's new to the school, he didn't say anyone who's new to the country, anyone who's new to the school, please stand. So there were, like I'd say, a dozen of us in a small elementary school. And then he just told everyone to welcome us and then say, take a look around, look at them. And when you see them sitting alone, like be their friend. And I'm thinking, wow, what an amazing welcome that was. So I felt really inspired by that. And then afterwards, I found that because I felt more comfortable towards the end of the year, I started to come out of my shell. And the teachers were fabulous. There were obviously my first teachers here. And, I was a bit math phobic back home in the Philippines, but like the patience that they showed me and how they were so encouraging, it was just unbelievable. Like my parents were so proud of um, how well I adapted to a new way of education, and that transferred on to grade 9. And I was very math anxious, and then um from grade 9 and on, I started to do well in math, and I became a math teacher. So I wanted to do the
Wow.
same thing for those quiet ones who really don't know what their potential was at that time. So I wanted to uproot that potential in them. And I taught for 15 years, and I kept going back to that first experience I had of that principal who was just so welcoming to my family. And I thought, you know what, after 15 years of teaching, I want to do something more. So just outside of the classroom, like I took on leadership roles like student council. I was a school chaplain too, at a high school. And I just said, you know what, I think I'm ready to do something different. It's not because I was bored, but I just thought I'd like to give back. And just going back to how I was coming here and what a big change that was. And that really inspired me to do more and to go into administration.
Nice. That's an amazing journey. I would have joined you in saying, okay, I'm with you when math was not my thing and you were uncomfortable with math. But then when you said you became a math teacher, I'm like, okay, no, that's not me either. So that's pretty cool.
Yes.
What does being a Catholic school leader mean to you personally?
Personally, I know we've heard it before, like servant leadership, but I do believe in that wholeheartedly. I'm a type of person who believes in serving people. I find it's my calling, and I'm pretty good at managing things. I like to be organized, color code, but I know being an administrator, it means more than that, than just issuing a memo or leading an assembly or a staff meeting or PD. It's a ministry, and I what I believe that makes a difference in leading is like the spiritual aspect. Like I can always go back to, like, some examples in the Bible. Not so much, well, this is an example of Bible, but I like am able to channel the stories from parables or even from lessons. That were, some gospel values, but I do believe it's about serving, and it's not so much like you must do this, you must do that. I do believe in like leading from the back and leading from the side. So, and spiritual leadership too, like it's not just like with the staff, but also with students and families. So that's what it means to be a Catholic servant leader in this school board and in my
Mhm.
job.
I like how you put servant leader in there. I kind of feel the same way as you. Like I'm here in service of you, the students and other staff too. So, being kind of putting that in there, it's a nice added touch. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a calling. And, I don't know what it is with you from your board, but we don't get a say as to which community we go. So I think of that as a call. I am called to go to that school rather than I've been assigned to that school. So
Yeah.
when I frame it that way, when they say, "Well, don't you get to choose where do you want to go, which part of the city?" Yeah, we
Mm,
do. There's always that February letter that comes and
yeah.
you pick what part of the city you're from, right? But I like to think it that way, that I'm not being dropped into a place, like I'm being called to be there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's very similar for our board as well, or for my board as well. And that being called, or being called to that community, is very kind of, I kind of feel that way too, because I've often asked the question, well, why have you placed me
Mhm.
here? Like, what do you feel is the need for me to be in this community? And the responses reflected around servant and being the servant for that community, but also because you've kind of been in that community already, or about that community, so we feel you could do the best in that community. So yeah, very similar to your board as well.
Yes.
Okay. As the first Filipino secondary principal in Toronto Catholic District School Board, what does this mean to you?
I think it means a great deal. As I mentioned before, I'm a first generation immigrant. My family, especially my parents, are very proud of me. And it is not like education is not typically a type of career that many, when people immigrate or like move from one country to another, it's not like something that happens. Like a lot of Filipinos are in the medical fields, service fields, but there's very few of us in education. So I think being in this position is really a mirror, sorts of like a mirror to the student, saying that, you can be in this space too. Like you can be in this leadership role, not just like, what the typical occupation is. So, even back
Yeah.
home, like some of my aunts, or actually a majority of them are in the medical field. So this is something that's like very different in our tradition. It's also, for me, it's an authentic way for me to advocate for my fellow Filipinos. So I do belong to a Filipino advisory group of this TCDSB. So because the fact that I have lived the experience, I continue to live the experience as an immigrant, I can understand the experiences of families. I mean, every family is very different, yet I could sort of provide some nuances and then some traditions and sort of like the family dynamics in certain families. Also, like as being part of advisory group, like a Filipino advisory group in the board, I am a bridge, so my voice does matter. So I do want other students and other staff to see it that way, that I can advocate for them. I serve as a bridge, and also it's being a mentor. Like I know now some like younger teachers who are Filipino, so I see myself as a mentor to them, and I hope they see me as like, okay, that's something that, not just being a teacher, or it's a way for them to aspire to a leadership role.
Nice. I like your analogy of bridge, a gentle bridge
Yeah,
between the two. But you're also paving the way. So that's kudos to you for that.
right. Thank you.
Has your has your Filipino identity shaped the way you lead and connect with your school community?
Yes, I do. So as I mentioned before, because I know of the lived experiences, like many Filipinos tend to, when they leave the Philippines, they either are separated from their families, or, one parent leaves the family to go to another part of the world. So
Mhm.
myself, my father had left the Philippines to search for a better job, and my mom and my brothers live with my grandparents. So what I've seen, the six experiences that I have, like the experience I have sort of like reflect or very similar to the experiences of many of the Filipino students, either in this current school I'm in or in the past, the other schools that I've been. So I find that when I try to help them or when I'm speaking to them or providing some guidance and support, I could speak to my experiences and they say, hey, like, Miss Adams also had that experience. And, these are ways that her family had coped with them. So it's a way for them to see that there are other ways to go about certain things, or, I offer them suggestions. I'm also aware of what supports are out there in the Filipino community. So I'm able to share that, and the fact that I find trust is built um, a lot faster because they know that I could relate, or we could relate to each other as to what we've experienced before. And I'm fairly fluent in the language. So when we have new students here and, when I greet them, I tend to say, Kamusta or Mabuhay, or even like, I could talk to them in their dialect. And again, like it's building that relationship. That's very helpful.
Yeah. I was just going to say it's building relationships
Yeah,
and you're building those relationships based on trust. So they feel like they belong and they're welcome.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you ensure students from diverse backgrounds feel seen, valued, and supported?
So like what I mentioned before with the lived experiences, I can relate to them. I also there's some statistics that certain like there's students from marginalized backgrounds tend to have like the highest statistics when it comes to, let's say, disciplinary action. So what we've seen recently, or what was implemented recently in schools, is the idea of restorative justice. So we do believe in that. We implement that in our schools, and we find that it's actually helpful. And when they're welcomed back into the community, it's not because, okay, you've done this and here's your penance, here's the consequences, and you don't, and then that's it. But
Mm.
because we believe in restorative justice, having a mediation and having a circle, and having that partnership with home, the students feel welcome and supported. We also have in many schools, we have like settlement workers. Just recently, unfortunately, we lost a settlement worker, but that's an added resource that many schools have had, like having a settlement worker. We also celebrate diversity, and May is Asian Heritage Month, but we celebrate that not just in May, but it's every day. It's not just, okay, May, that's it, or African Heritage Month, that's February. We believe, like, we have an Equity Champs Committee, and then we believe in celebrating culture throughout the year, so not just in certain months.
You mentioned equity champs. Is that just in your school, or is that kind of like a board wide thing for you?
It's a board-wide thing. So there's a
Okay.
committee or a team of teachers or staff in each school that are, we call them equity champs, and they go to PDs, and they have a group of students, and they come up with ways to make sure that the community is inclusive.
Okay. Nice. That's good to hear. In what ways can Catholic schools better celebrate and reflect the diversity of their communities?
Okay, so one of the things that that I started when I became a principal here is to audit the reading list. And that idea also came from the English department. So now we are encouraging all the other teachers to not just use like the typical Romeo and Juliet, it's for grade 11, or, Heart of Darkness or Wuthering Heights. So we try to modernize it and then have include authors that reflect the diversity of the school. And it's not just like the whole classics. So we try to make sure that students have a variety of reading material, and that includes authors from diverse backgrounds. And English is very is a type of course or even writer's craft where really you have the freedom that students have the freedom to explore reading material that best reflects their culture or their experiences. So that's one thing. We also, and this happened the last couple of years, we had an equity walk where a team of admin and students as well as staff, we walked around, like we were given a checklist that was created by the equity department of the board to sort of like a checklist, what sorts of things, how can we have a more inclusive community? So it could be like the visibility of, let's say, posters. Does it just reflect one type of ethnic background, or is it more diverse? So those kind of things, or guest speakers, who are we inviting to our community? And for example, too, when we have keynote speakers for like graduation or academic awards, we want to make sure it's a diverse group of individuals who are welcomed to speak to the students. One thing too that we started this year, it's our alumni speaker series. And what I did, I contacted alumni, like graduates of our school, and I made sure that it's more of a diverse background coming from different socioeconomic or even like fields, varying fields, but related to STEM, and it's been successful. So we've had about 5 speakers come in already to talk to the students.
Nice. You're giving me ideas and some of the things you're sharing here.
And it's
So
free.
you're right?
Yeah, it's like, they're always fun to like, I find like that the graduates really like we lean on them a lot, and because they've had the experience and they always like to give back. I mean, we give them an honorarium, but really like they're not they're just so happy to be back, and really it's unexpected when they receive some type of gift from us. So
Sure.
it's really wonderful.
Yeah. Now, do your equity walks, you mentioned them, do they happen like in every school? Like is it just you and your staff that would walk through the building, or
Yeah.
is it outside staff?
It's our staff, because we know our community more.
Right.
We know the community better, so it'll be our own staff that would
Okay.
do it. Yeah. But
Okay.
we have the perspective of the students.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. In what ways can Catholic schools better celebrate and reflect the diversity of their communities?
Think if you have celebrations, I find, because it's a larger audience, there's a captive audience. Then when you have celebrations like this year, we have our multicultural, like usually it alternates because it's such a big event. So we would alternate those things. And like I mentioned, the reading lists, or even when it comes to any curriculum connections. So as long as it reflects the diversity, it's cultural responsive. That's something I think Catholic schools do. And even like in prayer, we celebrate Mass at least 4 times a year, and we have a diversity of students who participate. And even in our prayers, we have like multilingual prayers. Not every single Mass, but we do when it's a Heritage Month for certain groups, then we incorporate that in our prayer as well. And it's just a way, when we build relationships, when we talk to students, and making them feel welcome, as well as the parents too.
Mm-hmm.
So even it's just the little things. It doesn't have to be like a big thing that happens just once a year and then you pack it up and then you move on to the following year.
Sure. Yeah. No. When you do your prayers, you were talking about Mass, but you were also talking about prayers. Is that the prayers that are diverse when within the school, like daily prayers, or just during the Mass? Is that when you spoke about prayers?
Yeah, so when it's a particular Heritage Month, we do try, we endeavor to have different prayers. And actually, when we commemorated the Red Dress Day yesterday, we had a special prayer and a reflection that took place in the morning, first in the morning, and then in the latter half of the day.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. What message do you hope students, especially Filipino and Asians, take from seeing you in this role?
I want them to think that anything is possible. I want them to learn from that. And I also, for me, having a mentor is really important. And many boards, I'm sure, have like advisory groups that are related to cultural ethnicity. So I would tell them to get involved in those advisory groups. I'd also like to tell them that their unique cultural perspective on things is not a barrier. It's actually a blessing, and also it's an advantage, like because it's part of the Canadian education landscape. And even having starting a project or an initiative. It doesn't have to be big, but make it, it could be a small but meaningful initiative that you can do so that you are seen and your leadership abilities shine. And it's visible. And sometimes change is also, sometimes it takes a little longer, but just to be patient and be patient and just not give up and be resilient.
Right. Okay. Okay, thank you. Can you share a moment where you saw the impact of representation or inclusion in your school?
Yeah. So it's always when there's big celebrations, when even when we have, let's say, last year when we had Asian Heritage Month, and you're seeing students who they're usually quiet. They don't, they're not I guess, like they're typical outgoing or extrovert. And when you see them on stage performing and everyone else is cheering, it's really wonderful to see them thrive and then for everyone to appreciate and acknowledge and show their support. Another thing that I truly was very moved was I'm principal of an all-girls school, and I'm also a product of an all-girls school. And, my experience was in high school, and it's, very similar to the experiences in other all-girls schools here, is like the lack of sporting facilities that are adequate for, to play sports. So because the fact that I have the background of having led of being a leader of an all-girls school right now, and also prior to that, I was a vice principal of an all-girls school, and just seeing that there was a lack of acceptable or even like a field that's leveled. So let's just start with that. I don't know, it's like a metaphor, leveling the playing field, but yeah, literally too. It's and then when I talk to other leaders and other stakeholders when it comes to like all girls schools, they did see that there's a similarity in terms of the inequity and the access to sporting facilities. Or so students were receptive to that, and we got together. We had some help with other stakeholders, and we were able to advocate for better facilities, physical education facilities for all girls schools in our board. And we're seeing it now. There's some changes going on in all girls schools. And by the end of it, like in a few years, we would see like a big change that all girls schools will have better physical facilities in terms of sports equipment, or even like, let's say, an outside field. So it's really great to come together with not just with our students, but seeing other stakeholders from other communities come together and advocate for better facilities. So that was it was very inspiring to be part of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm happy to hear that because as I'm sitting here, the school I'm at has amazing sports facilities, but it's for co-ed school, right? So
Yes,
it's
yeah,
great to hear that we're bringing that to an all-girls school, and
right.
helping improve that. So
Yes.
that's amazing.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, because when we also look at other schools, like for example, an all-boys school, they have like the big football fields,
Yep.
turf field,
Yeah.
nicely manicured lawn, like a sports field, and we found like, I mean, it's not the school's fault. It's just like back in the day when, traditionally, like at that time, it was a different era when girls were not seen as equals, or they're basically their involvement in sports was minimized. But right now, it's different. Like we have our school is applying for a sportsism, and we're hoping to get it.
Oh,
If we
awesome.
are, then we would be the first all-girls schools in our board, all-girls school in our board to get it. But we're having our fingers crossed. We're hoping for that.
That's awesome. Well,
Yes.
good luck with that. And
Thank
I hope
you.
it comes through.
I hope so. Maybe this video will help it.
Maybe, maybe.
Yes.
Okay, tell us about the most notable mentors who shaped your faith as and administrator journey.
Okay, so I would like to start when I was a student of an all-girls school in an all-girls high school. At that time, we still had sisters,
Yeah.
the Notre Dame sisters who were there, and I was really inspired by them. They're just so down to earth, and it really helped me. As a teenager, you always had, it was hard being a teenager, and they were really guardian angels to me, and there were great mentors. And they're also one of the reasons why I went into teaching. But in administration, it would be my principals who I had when I was teaching at Notre Dame, and also my first principal at Loretto College. He was also a wonderful mentor, very authentic in the way he led, very personable, very relationship oriented. And I thought, um, I think I would like to, I would lead that way, the way he connected with staff and students. And he encouraged me to apply to become a vice principal and sorry, to be a principal. And I'm also blessed that I have very supportive superintendents who supported my application and encouraged me to go to principal to take on a principalship. And my predecessor, actually, who was the principal here at the school prior to me, she also encouraged me, and she too believed in relational leadership. And what wonderful mentors. Like I still call them once in a while, and then ask them what their take is, what would they do, ask them for advice. And I'm truly blessed that I have this mentors who I can talk to um, when I need some advice. So yeah, so I would say my superintendents, the principals who were who were colleagues, and also past teachers and past administrators I had as when I was a teacher.
Yeah. Awesome. It's always good to have somebody to call.
Yes,
Especially in the principal role, it's a very lonely role, or
yes,
it can be sometimes. So having those people you can reach out to is always a benefit.
right, yeah, yes.
What advice would you give aspiring Catholic leaders from underrepresented groups and ages?
Okay. So I would say also that this is similar to what I give to other students as well, to just like find a mentor, someone that you can trust, just like I did, and start projects that, even if it's small, like you start small, but make them meaningful, and keep those projects, keep the students at the center of those projects. What does it mean? What is it doing for these students? And also, especially if they're going to be Catholic educators or Catholic leaders, it's really the whole, again, how I see administration as a calling. Like it's a ministry, not just management. and just live by, just be yourself. Like, you can copy like sort of like, what one school is doing or what administrators doing, but you really have to make it your own. And if you live by those gospel values of trust, of hope, and faith, I think that would, I think you'd be successful just being true to yourself. And I know we say that, that whole saying, the truth will set you free. It's really, I believe in faith. And, as Catholics, we're Easter people. We believe in hope. It's, Jesus rose from the dead, and we can't, I know it's sometimes like when you have a bad day or when it's not so great when you turn on the TV or you watch the news, right? But I think the faith part and the hope part really, it's one thing that I lean on when things get tough. So there are going to be bad days, but not every day. But there's always something good in every day. So not every day is going to be good, but there's always something good in every day. And I truly believe in that. So when it's a crazy day and I thought, you know what, someone opened the door for me, someone smiled to me, someone offered me a small espresso, and it's hope. We're Easter
Yes,
people.
yes. That's a great analogy. Yes. Hope. Agency as lived leadership. So what does principal agency look like in your practice today? And how do you recognize it when it's happening?
So I believe in shared leadership, and I also believe in just not making a decision right away. I know sometimes it makes it easy to just, you have a checklist and then check, okay, I did that, check, I did that. When I first started, it was just me trying to get through things like just a list, and it just makes you feel good to cross those things out, right? So I invite people in my decision making. Like I consult with people, and I'm a relationship person, so I really believe in asking for advice, even from other people or what they think about things. I work well with teachers. I even, when something lands on, let's say, a memo, I would consult with, let's say, a union partner and say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think what the staff would think, right? And what way can we work together? So when it's shared, and we have department heads here, and we have monthly meetings, and I value their input because they're also the leaders. And when I'm gone, I want them there to also still lead. So it's not just about like a ladder or like a pedestal. It's more like a circle. And I know I do this because I don't, I know that it happens when, even when I'm gone, and let's say I'm gone for a couple days, it's still like the school will run itself. It's
Yeah.
really, I know there might be sometimes when, we're not so sure about what's going to happen. You kind of worry, okay, I took 2 days off, or I took 2 days to go on a trip with these students. What's going to happen to the school? But knowing that the school runs itself and that you trust others, and it's not, and then believe like, okay, we're doing this because we were told to do so, but rather I want them to think we're doing this because it's good for the students. That's when I know it's working.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds to me like you've empowered those individuals to lead as they are, or and lead by their practice and what they know. So that's a great, shared leadership is a great way of doing it. And I truly believe that if you have that, you are more able or more willing to actually take some days for yourself, to rejuvenate yourself and know
Yes.
that the school is in good hands. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Agency as navigating tension. So, where do you experience the greatest freedom and the greatest constraint in exercising principal agency?
Okay. So as a working in a publicly funded board or school, we're under scrutiny. And it's about balancing the expectations of, let's say, parents, the general public, the school board, the province. So it's really, balancing their expectations. So that's a constraint. But at the same time, I feel free when the way I relate to students, or the way I build relationships, the way I treat people. So that one, like, there's freedom in that. Like, I can bring in my faith. So we're very lucky in the Catholic school board and in the school when, let's say, there's a crisis in a family, or let's say it comes with disciplining, or there's a difficult situation that we're faced with. I can always bring that faith into the conversation and into the solution. And I find that's, like what I said, the faith will set you free. So
Yeah.
that's the way I see that there's freedom in that. Like any other organization, right? Resources are scarce, and it's not unlimited. So that could be constraint. But then again, when about being creative, or even looking for resources and support from outside, that's when I have the greatest freedom. And I know that we're very fortunate here at our school that we have a very supportive parent community who's able to advocate and help us. And, we also have a community of parents. I call them parents who graduated because they still believe in, giving back to the school because their daughters had flourished here. And when we have those resources and the support, we actually have the freedom to do what we want to do, and for the students.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, thank you. The last question I have for you, Lily. Agency as condition and culture. So what conditions allow principal agency to flourish, and how do you help create them?
Right. So when I feel supported by senior staff, that's one of the things. When I ask for advice and they offer advice, I find that that's when I flourish. And also when I'm given the autonomy to make decisions and I'm being supported, it's really a wonderful thing. And we also, when I find that when I have the staff on board, when I'm able to tell them that, it's also their school, like that we share the vision, that's when it's really liberating. And that's when I find that what we're doing is very effective and it fits for the good of the students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it relates to the phrase, it takes a community to
Yes.
raise a child. And that's, that I just got that kind of vision when you were just speaking there about that. When you have staff and you have supportive senior staff, it's a wonderful thing because you feel like you can do anything then when you
Yes.
have that support.
Right. Yeah. So again, also it's relationships, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're able to, if you have, there are days here when, I'm sure you do too, there's days when it's a Friday and it's a favorite time to, let's say there's always like something wrong. Like, it's very hard to get supply teachers in the building, and you have just like staff would say, you know what, or teachers just say, just give me the on-call. Just don't worry about it. I'll cover that class. Don't worry. We'll help. We'll work through it. We have a team here, whatever you need it. And then, sometimes you don't even have to ask. They see you there on Friday trying to staff the school or trying to put like an adult in that classroom, and they're just willing to drop everything and they help you. And, it's not, and they're not asking for any favors or anything, that there's no condition saying, well, we did this for you. So what's for us? What's in it for us? Right. So, yeah, it's really wonderful when you have a team of people who are on board and they see your vision and they share your vision and they respect you.
While maintaining students, it's all about the students. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's,
Yes.
it's wonderful when you can have develop those relationships that those staff see it as, I'm doing this for the students. I'm not doing it for me, and I'm not doing it to get anything out of it from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.